My computer. All right. So, Tamika, it's exciting to be with you today. And I'd love to hear, a little bit about kind of maybe some pivotal events that made you realize that you wanted to do the work that you do today. So could you kind of start from the beginning, from how you got started, and were there any sort of changes or events that kind of happened that made you want to go into this area of building your business?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity, Meryl. This is fun. Thanks a lot. I'm
You're
glad to
welcome.
be here to share this information because that is what it's about. It's a lack of awareness in this space. So I was very excited to do this with you today. So I would say that, well, this started back some years ago when I got some jarring statistics and some great information on the franchise industry. And like many others, I didn't really know that much about franchising, besides the obvious. The first thing people think about when they hear franchises is food, right? So
Mm,
franchise McDonald's or something like that. That is just what you would think about. But when I understood that not only was it way more than food and that there's well over 60 industries, but even the amounts, because when we think franchise, we think big, right? Um, there's a lot of franchises that are a fraction of the cost of what it would be for those really big food chains. So when I got that understanding, and then I found out that the success rate, that I think shocked me, is the fact of when it comes to proven business models or franchises, the success rate is typically 90%.
mm.
And I always joke and say, you know what, I wasn't the greatest in math, but but I know that if you're talking about from what I've always heard about small business and the percentage of success rate, it's normally about a 50%, success rate.
Mm,
Whereas you're telling me that, well, if I go this path, it's 90%. So then I came to the
mm.
realization that, well, I'm a little shocked that this is the first time I'm kind of hearing about it. I don't hear anybody really talking about it from that perspective. And then I came to find out that, well, women is, only is less than 30%. It is 77% white men dominated. And again, I'm like 77%, yet it's a 90% success rate. So then I said, well, you know what? Maybe the problem is the awareness. There's not a lot of people that look like me that's talking about this and that's even owning African Americans is only 8%.
Mm.
So that is what pushed me to really dive into the industry a little more and fast forward to where once I realized that it's something that I can actually do as far as guiding people and really teaching people about this path of business ownership. I was ready to do it. So that's just the gist of how I got to want to do this.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing those statistics. Those are really big numbers, and it's clear that you have a passion and are really driven to support other women, and to, help other women not only be successful, but also have accessibility, right, to
Mhm.
owning a business. So did you own a business before this business, or what was your career path to where you are today?
Well, I've always been in sales and I've always dabbled into it's still corporate, but sales, but business ownership. I would say business ownership mindset, because when I started, like my sales career started really with like being in finance and insurance with New York Life. And
Mm.
you know everything is your full commissions, and how they say you got to eat what you kill. I hate that. Maybe I
Oh.
should put it that way.
We'll
But
edit that out.
but with the insurance industry of being strictly just commission, so everything that I did, the prospecting, the full, it's all full
Yeah,
circle. I had to find the client, educate the client, sell the client. So in that sense, I did that. I did
yeah.
also own like an online store where I owned where it was products like clothes and
Mm,
accessories and here. So I did stuff like minor stuff like that as far as
mm,
owning businesses.
Yeah, you've always been entrepreneurial, it seems.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, mhm,
Yeah. And so was there like a specific pain point or anything that, kind of drove you to sort of pivot then into, into this work? I mean, I know the statistics that you shared certainly, and
mhm,
sounds like also you were looking to help other people, right? Guide them. Even your experience in insurance, obviously, right? You're kind of guiding the customer throughout their journey, right? In sales, comes kind of
mhm,
full sales cycle or through full customer life cycle, if you will. And did this just kind of seem like a natural next fit for you and an opportunity to grow your own business, doing something that you love and that you're good at? Like, what sort of like was the was the driver there, or was it something? How did you learn about it? What
No,
made you
I
learn
would
about it?
say honestly, well, it definitely started from those statistics. And since then, what I started doing was just being heavily, oh, not heavily, but being involved in the business. And actually, I was telling people before I understood this could be a business. So, like in my conversations, I would always say, the way to go seems like it should be a franchise. You should be looking into
Mm,
that. So I started like joining particular communities, going into
mm,
the franchise expos and stuff like that. Like I just
mm,
stay close to the community.
I
And
see.
and then I would say it honestly was just opportunity. The opportunity presented itself like many people. COVID, that year 2020, did a lot of
Mm,
reflecting, and I had the opportunity to it came across like my dad's pretty much. It just jumped up at me where it's like, wait a
mm,
minute, this is something that I really am interested in. And if I could do this as a business, why not? So that
yeah.
presented the opportunity for me to move forward and the time to actually go ahead and take whatever course, get licensed, and go ahead and open the business for it. So honestly, it was that.
Yeah, good for you for taking that leap. I too took a leap during COVID as well, and I was furloughed from my job, the company I was with for 11 years, left my industry completely and started my business. So I can completely relate to that. Um, with that said, what have been the biggest obstacles for you? Obviously, entrepreneurship is not an easy road, right? And not everyone has that kind of tenacity or that mindset or that desire, right, to own and grow their own business. So is there anything that comes to mind, that you've had to kind of overcome, and maybe how you persevered through those challenges?
Well, I think the obstacles are pretty aligned with most when it comes to, just having enough funds, just making sure
Mm,
that you can stay afloat. I think
yeah,
fair as
yeah.
well. I truly admire those that could just say, okay, I'm going to make the jump to full entrepreneurship. I didn't make the full jump at that time, so that
Mm,
made it difficult as well
mm,
because I was juggling, working and also doing
doing it
my
part-time, kind
business.
of.
So I
Mm,
think that plays a part in some of the obstacles. As far as the way that I wanted to go about my business, it really is going against the grain of how a typical person in my business would go about it. Whereas my focus is more on no, I want to get back to the underrepresented. I want to speak to women. I want to speak to people of color. That's what I want to do, and I want to make it so that the resources that I provide is at no cost, such as the webinars. Because of the
mm,
fact of, I feel like that is a major reason as to why the demographics is as they are. If there was
mm,
more education, if there was more people talking about it, if there was more people talking about it that look like me, then more women would get involved, more people of color would get involved because now we know. So I think that in itself is an obstacle as well because it is new. It is a slower way to really gain the profits as well. But those are the things that I can think about as far as what some of those obstacles and challenges.
yeah, for sure. So did you start making those educational webinars and like driving more accessibility from the beginning, or is that something fairly new that you're adding to your business?
No, from the beginning, once I knew that this was what I was going to do, I had it in mind. And believe me even doing this interview with you as calmly and cool as I'm doing it now, oh, that wasn't in the beginning, right? So, because I was definitely not a person that was always as visible
Mm,
online, besides like maybe a personal Facebook or something like that. I wasn't a person that, is speaking and
mm,
educating, so, not online.
yeah,
Public speaking, was that like they said that's the number one fear. So I never
yeah,
thought about me being that person. But when I
yeah.
decided that this is what I wanted to do, I knew that it was important for me to be visible. So I
Mm,
believe that year for the first time, I had a theme because I'm not sure where I picked it up at, if it was on Clubhouse or just in one of the women groups that I was in, where we talked about, well, what is your theme for the year? So I said, that's a great idea. So I thought about it, and one of them were to be more visible, you know?
mm,
So I really stuck to that. And I said, you know what? I need to do webinars, and I need to invite people, industry leaders, and to come on, people in the industry that'll go ahead and be on these webinars to educate. So I kind of had that vision. And as nervous as I was, I did it. And
yeah.
did it once, and I'm like, well, I got to keep it up, and I just kind of continued with it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That also kind of sounds like an obstacle, right? That you sort of overcame, just like your comfort and confidence and sort of that fear of that visibility that you sort of just put aside, and that determination to execute on that piece that of your vision, right?
Mhm.
To make your business
Well, I
you
would say,
know,
you know what? It's baby steps, because I
yeah.
didn't go from, oh, I'm not too into showing up, online or publicly, to being a public speaker. Like it didn't work that way. So, like maybe the first one, like I had someone assist me, I spoke, but it's like that comfort was like, well, let me have someone else. Let me have an assistant on there with me. And then it came to the point,
Mm,
was like, no, I'm fine. I can do this. And it's like, so I want to encourage, I say this, and I think it's important because I want to encourage people, because I think sometimes we put ourselves in that box of saying, like, like, no, I'm an introvert, so I'm not going to be able to do this, whatever. It's not that you're not going to be able to do it. Just take baby steps towards, there's always a way that you can tap into particular things. And
mm.
honestly, me myself a few years ago, seeing what I have done today, I would have never thought that I would have been able to do that. But you'll be surprised of what you can do if you can just kind of just take those baby steps towards doing it. So maybe no, not main stage, but I did a webinar. So I think that was helpful as well.
I really, really love that advice. It's kind of like, it's like the how do you eat an elephant kind of overwhelmingness. Sometimes that can
Yeah.
really kind of hold us back, right? It's like one bite at a time, the baby steps. You don't have to do everything all at once. Sort of ease your way into it and then kind of master it and get really comfortable with that. I think that's like really, really great advice, especially for entrepreneurs who are just
Hmm.
starting. It can be so overwhelming of like what to do first, or you want to do everything, or something in this case, very specifically to the content creation, which can be
Hmm.
really overwhelming, right? But if that's going to
Yeah.
be a big piece of your business and it's something that you don't really enjoy doing, or you don't really know how or where to get started, it's kind of just like start in little steps. So I really, really love that. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so what does success look like for you? You kind of started to ramp your business. It's been about 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
Since you started. What does success look like for you today? What would you say that you're most proud of today? One of the things, and then from a future kind of like a long term, 5 to 20 years, let's just say, right? What does that look like to you?
Well, success to me, I think, well, since we just came off of speaking about just being able to show up and speak now a little more freely. I would say that that is a big part because I am really proud of the fact that I didn't let it stop me, and it opened me up to opportunities that I otherwise may not have gotten. So I think now success would be owning the fact, that I can do it and that I can show up in these spaces and be confident in my ability to relay this, that I am an
Yeah.
industry expert. I think that that's something that I would say. I would also want to scaling this business to where I am reaching, I'm reaching my target audience, but greatly, just more on a national level where I'm sorry. I know this is being edited, so I just need to stop a second.
Oh, sure, no worries.
No, I just got thrown off for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Oh, that's okay. Take a minute. You're doing great. I'll just
Yes, and just really tapping into the reason why I did this, which was to make sure that there are more women that now know about this business, this industry, and they're going to be more owners, that there are more people of color that's going to come into this industry because there's room. There's room here and it's a successful path. So success for me would be honestly, I mean, it's changing communities because if more of us are coming into this industry and we're owning, we have the ability to now have true generational wealth. We have the
Mhm.
ability to now have job creations, and things of that
Yeah,
nature. So this is really tapping into community. So success for me is is that type of impact. Is seeing that
yeah,
I'm getting out to the point of where we're attacking that low percentage. It's no longer 8% African American. It jumped.
yeah,
To me, it's jumping. It's no longer that 28 or 29% women. So,
yeah.
and I would love to know that, hey, I had something to do that. Somebody's got to do it, right?
Oh gosh, I love that so much. I mean, gosh, you've taken something like guiding future business owners or future franchise owners, right? To a deeper level, right? It's like much bigger than that. You can
Mhm.
empower women of color, you can impact communities on a greater scale from financial freedom and also, like you said, to the job, generating job wealth within the community. I mean, that's incredible. Like I really love that big picture thinking that you just shared and your vision and
I,
really
I
the
would like
great
to add.
impact.
I would like to add to that. It's not just about owning the businesses, but think about this as well. The type of businesses that could be owned. So I'm not just
Mm,
talking about, just food brands and things of that nature. This could be education. There's so
yeah,
many different businesses within the education space. What would that
yes,
mean for the
the
community?
community.
you
Yeah,
know there's if we want to talk about food, okay, well, what if it was more healthier types of
right.
business, healthcare,
Mm,
health and wellness. So it's not just owning profitable businesses, but you also have that opportunity to putting other types of really important
diversify. Yeah.
businesses in the communities as well.
Oh gosh, I love that so much. That is so powerful to me, God. I'm so excited for you. So
Thank you.
yeah, so like, how do you go about, I'm just curious, like, kind of getting someone to think big like that, right? When your reach, and is it something that you talk about in kind of like your marketing and your messaging? Is it part of the kind of discovery and journey you go on with your clients? Like, tell me how you can get them to think in that way, because gosh, you just got me really excited thinking about the possibility and thinking about just the social and community impact, which Gosh, I mean, that's incredible on so many different levels. So how do you kind of go about that and helping someone to think in that way? Because it's so powerful.
Well, well, one, I would like to thank you because although I have done content on the social impact and things of that nature, I could actually do more. And I guess, just with this conversation is actually giving me the idea of maybe I should implement more of that in
Mm.
like my content calendar to really
Great.
focus on that. So thank you. I think I might actually
You're
speak about
welcome.
that on my meeting today.
That's so good. You're
Yeah.
welcome. I'm glad to help stir the energy juices.
But yeah, I think but I mostly would probably be in the conversations that I'm having,
Mhm.
and the webinars that I do, because of the fact I intentionally um do webinars that is going to be I intentionally do webinars where it's going to be outside of the common industries that you think about. Like, I want
Mhm.
you to know, like, for example, the last webinar I did was celebrating women in franchising for Women's History Month.
Okay.
And it had owners that was in real estate, B2B space, logistics, which are all things that you do not think about when it comes to franchising.
Yeah.
So I intentionally do things like that.
Hmm.
And I think also when I have my conversations, I really try to gauge what are the things that you really not only can do, but what you like doing. Because a lot of
Hmm.
times people will tell you their skills and they'll tell you everything that they could do and everything, but then they don't really like it. Just because I know how to do it doesn't mean I like doing it. So I want to know
Yeah.
both. So me trying to understand what are the things that you actually like doing, what are the things that you really feel like you're good at, what are the things you're passionate about, that kind of starts asking those types of questions, kind of start pulling those types of things out, where I can let them then see how their transferable skills and their experience fit in all these other industries as well. And have you thought about, you know, it seems like health and wellness is really, really important to you. And then I'll bring some brands for them to go through the journey, or to at least discover whether or not it's a great fit or not. So
That
those are
makes
the things.
sense. That makes sense. Thank you. So today, the market that you're reaching, is it local to the New York City area? Do you have some clients that are outside of New York?
Mhm.
What is your reach today?
So it's always been national.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the funny thing is that, well, the what I really liked is that when my first person that came through was someone that was in my area from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
so that was great to know, because it just made me feel like, oh wow, like it just said
Yeah.
something to me, like, okay, I'm creating some impact in my own neighborhood. So that
Yeah.
felt great. But it is national, so it's not specific to New York. But I am here. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I find that I'm being asked to do more workshops and interviews such as this and everything that is here in New York. But it's anywhere. I
Uh-huh.
have a lot of candidates that are contacting me from like Atlanta, Florida. I had just came back from an expo in California. So that might bring more people on the West Coast. So it is a national business.
Yeah. And for someone that is thinking about owning a franchise, and maybe they do live in a city like New York, where things can sometimes be, when you think about brick and mortar, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can sometimes feel really inaccessible from that
Mm-hmm.
perspective, or the overhead can be high.
Yeah.
Is there advice that you might give someone in the local market because this conversation has been so inspiring. I hope that our members and other people who are maybe thinking about entrepreneurship will think about what you're sharing, and also obviously look to you for as their consultant in this journey. But what advice then might you give someone local in the area who is looking to perhaps go down the path of franchise and, maybe taking some of those things into consideration?
Yes, I would say be open. Come with an open mind, because you might come in, and I do get this. People come in because they know of a particular business and they're like, oh, I always go there. Or there's always a line, so it must be good. That's what I want. And they're like zone in on that. And you could, and it's not, that's not enough. That's not the right reasons to want to own that particular business.
Mhm.
So be open in understanding and sharing what your skills are, as we were talking about before. That's what's important, because then you will be surprised at what type of businesses can come by. So be open to the fact that it may not be the business that you're thinking, and it may not even be brick and mortar. It does not have to be brick and mortar. So if it doesn't have to be brick and mortar, you're now opening yourself to a wider variety of business options that
Yeah.
you can own and be profitable and like.
Yeah. No, I love that. Um, One last question that I tend to ask, and especially, I'm excited to learn from you, is, being a woman of color, right? Growing up in New York City in an urban environment. I also grew up in New York City. But with that said, like, what kind of, where did you get the chutzpah, so to speak, with like becoming a entrepreneur and a business owner, which often, when I've spoken with other, women of color or other ethnicities, they
Mhm.
often share immigrants, right? That they didn't have that role model, myself included. I grew up in a very blue collar, kind of family. And, my parents weren't business owners, and, they were like, get a job that you can support yourself. And like, it felt too risky. So I didn't really have that role model in my life. But was there anything in particular that comes to mind that is sort of was kind of a role model or driver or not in your journey?
Well, I guess in my experience, because my parents is from Trinidad, my family is from Trinidad. So there's going to be a mix of both. And I actually did a piece on this before, where I did speak about that a little bit more. But my father was definitely more of the entrepreneur spirit, than
Mhm.
my mother. Even though I remember when I was really young that she had Avon, like
Oh,
she
cool.
sold
Yeah.
Avon, so she had a little bit of
Entrepreneur.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, she's also was, when my mother came to this country, the first job that she got, she retired from, right? It was the only
Right,
job, the first and only job. Um,
right.
so the combination was great, because I look at the fact that my father was like, he loved the entrepreneur stuff. He was kind of hard headed, like he didn't like to be told too much what to do. I think I might have got a little bit of that, where it's just like there's a certain way you got to give us rules, but
Yeah.
but he I remember when we were younger, it was I know this all came from him, where we owned a grocery store. Actually, we are
Oh,
not a grocery
wow.
store, I'm sorry, a bodega. We owned
Uh-huh.
a corner store.
Yeah.
And those are the type of things that he wanted to do. The only problem is my father was definitely the just go, not think and go. And my mother's like, wait, wait, wait. My mother's more like, no, wait, 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 and wait. And let's
Yeah.
think and think. So I believe that being somewhere in the middle
Middle. Yeah.
is a good thing. We need the information, we need the guidance, we need to make sure
Yeah.
that we have particular finances, etc. You know, that we have those things in check. And go
Yeah.
ahead and take these chances, stuff like that. Just be smart about how you go about it. So I don't know. Maybe it's the combination of my parents.
Yeah. And what I love about that too is it's kind of the role that you play in the work that you do and how you guide clients, right? It's sort of the blend of, hey, it's okay to take these risks, but also know the information and go in it with that intent. So you almost play that scale in the way that you guide them too, is
You
at
know
least
what?
from what I
Again,
learned.
yeah, thank you. I think we need to talk a little bit more. I need to get more inspiration, because you're absolutely right. It actually is that.
Yeah.
So I love that.
That's so great, Tamika. Well, thank you for spending time with me today. And so, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you or learn more about your business? Share that with us. Give us your plug.
Absolutely. So I am I'm sorry, on LinkedIn. My
Uh-huh.
name is Tamika Franklin. It's spelled Franklyn. My business is Precision Franchise, and I'm on all social media platforms as Precision Franchise. you can go onto the website where once you go onto the website, you'll be able to sign up for any of the webinars that I would have coming. You would absolutely get that for free. And
Awesome.
that's www.precisionfranchise.com. There's quite a few resources as well on there, including the ability to rate the level of interest in particular industries. So I'll have like a list of industries. You can rate the level of interest, and it's a great tool to have before you have a consultation with me. And there's an e-course as well. So I would say definitely check out the website at precisionfranchise.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That sounds like a really, really chock full of resource, place for
Oh, can
someone
I
to
add one
go.
more? I'm sorry. I don't
Please.
know how I could
No.
forget that. So, and I'm excited about what I launched this year, which would be our YouTube channel called Franchise Vibes. So make sure that you do
Franchise
check that out.
vibes.
Franchise Vibes.
Great. All right.
VIBES.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. We will absolutely make sure that that gets into both the blog and maybe somewhere in the video as well. I'm going to hit stop recording for a second.